Welcome to Verified. I'm Chad, better known as Riz, and I just had a really great conversation with Marco at VeTest Uprising. And frankly, if you have any interest in the Veri token or very smart metal silver rounds, you are not going to want to miss this. Went a little long, so I broke it up into a couple parts, this being part one, scams targeting Veri token holders. And yeah, had a little issue with the video, but honestly, the conversation was so good, I had to share it. So enjoy. All right, welcome to Verified. I have with me a returning guest, VE Test Uprising. Marco, welcome back. We're just going to cover a few different topics here, specifically some scams related to the Veri token, and then jump into the very smart metal. So welcome back, Marco.
Thank you, Riz. Appreciate it. Lots on the plate today.
Definitely. So where would you like to start? You want to start with TradeOgre?
Yeah, let's do that. I'm going to go ahead and pull up a screen share here. This is a site. I'm not sure what Arkham really is, but they have a really good insight into all the assets trapped on TradeOgre. And so that's what we're looking at in the top left here, 26.9 million worth of assets
Ooh.
still on that exchange.
So everybody knows TradeOgre was a site where you could buy Veri tokens, and about 2 weeks ago, it basically just went down with no explanation.
Yeah, actually, it's time flies because it's been more than a month now
Oh wow,
since.
really?
Yeah, and I'll pull up. There's some more in-depth data on here we can go through, but I did want to highlight. So these are the assets trapped on TradeOgre by value, and so we see, there's 12 million of Bitcoin on here. So
Wow.
this is why I don't think this is an exit scam, because there's just too much value left behind. It's almost like the sole proprietor and something happened to the person. They just dropped off the edge of the map. But in the assets screen, if you look right here, what's this, sixth down on the list, almost 150,000 worth of Veri,
Wow.
9,424 Veri trapped on there. And it's an unfortunate consequence of the design of this centralized exchange. To sell your tokens, you actually have to deposit them there. And so I suspect a lot of these are people that were selling and they just got trapped. Over here, just this isn't very related so much, but this is kind of sad. Somebody has an auto deposit on, they're still depositing, whether this is a miner, Bitcoin miner, or something else. You can see just regular deposits on here recurring. This
Ouch.
BC1Q4, if you're listening, buddy, you need to turn off your auto deposit because you're throwing away Bitcoin. And then over here in this window, I'm going to go from August 1st beginning until today, 28th, and apply that. This is the this is what's going on the chart here. You see nothing. There's been no. I mean, there's some real small ends here, but if I click on the outflow tab over here, you'll see the last outflow. Oh, it was actually that same guy, BC1Q4, pulled a little Bitcoin out, and that's it. The outflows stopped. Inflows, unfortunately, this guy is still putting in, but we can see by the deposits and withdrawal map over here, nothing really going on. So you can see here, over here to the right panel, you can see even 2 hours ago, this poor guy, BC1Q4, still depositing. He's on auto deposit, even in an occasional larger one. So his are going into a black hole. Over here, I can adjust the dates. This is July 30. Let me just go ahead and force it. August 1st through August 28th and hit apply. And you see they just zero out. There's no activity to speak of. over here on the outflow tab, we can see 1 month ago that same BC1 Q4 pulled some out. That was it. He was lucky in that he got the last ticket on the train out, but he's still pausing in, so not quite as observant as he should be. So
Crazy.
anyway, that's where we're at there.
And there's still no word from TradeOgre or anybody else on what happened.
No,
Just
news
eerie.
has gone. It's just a black hole, and so anyway, yeah, TradeOgre. The news is got. There was never any authoritative source, which kind of adds to my suspicion. It was just a lone ranger out there, just a one, a small entity running, a one person shop, and something happened to the person. It's my best theory that I have. It's been more than 30 days, zero outflows, zero news, zero anything. The hope for people that have tokens on there is rapidly dwindling. Probably, I don't know, statute of limitations, all kinds of legal stuff may apply. But first step is, there's no common public knowledge where TradeOgre is even physically located. Nobody even really knows that. There are rumors of Europe and California, offshore, but nobody knows. So that'd be step one. And it's kind of challenging to get some law enforcement involved when you don't even know where the crime was committed.
Right. But again,
So,
this leads us back to the whole counterparty risk discussion, that Reggie's really trying to hit home
yeah.
the invention that he's created.
Right, we'll lead into that a little bit later today. That leads right into the P2P discussion and what's happening with agents. That this scenario really can't happen in that world, not like this,
Exactly.
because you don't have your tokens on deposit with anyone else. You hold them all the time.
Perfect. So,
So
so leading off of that, we also have a few other scams that we should let people know about. The Telegram migration scam seems to be getting people constantly. So just so people are aware, Telegram, we have a Veritaseum official main group, and there's also a price speculation group. But specifically, the main group, the Veritaseum official Telegram room, seems to be at times duplicated. All the members, all the admins are duplicated, and people are invited without knowing to this group. So I believe there is a setting in Telegram where you can uh, click or take off invites to groups without your permission. And that's what's happening. So people that haven't been in the group for a while are coming back to Telegram, and they're actually, without knowing, going into this wrong group, and you're seeing all these migration, migrate your tokens or you're going to lose them.
it's a sophisticated scam that's well executed because people report, they go in there and they hear you and Reggie and Jeremy and other DAO members supposedly tell them to migrate, and it's just a big impersonation scheme.
Hmm.
You can somehow bring that up and drop it down. It's really squishy. It's hard to nail that down, and Telegram's not much help with it either.
Yeah,
And so we're doing the best thing we can is just to educate people. And like you said, if if your Telegram room is telling you you need to migrate your Veri tokens, number one, you're in the wrong room. It's a scam. And number two, there is no migration.
exactly. And just to be clear, if anybody is telling you to migrate or looking for personal information, definitely take a click on their name and just look at what groups they're associated with. Um, you should be able to tell pretty quickly by their handle if they're legitimate or an impersonation account. Nobody from the very DAO or the very community will ask you for personal information or tell you to migrate tokens. So just be wary of that. Um, People and admins are being duplicated. Liam was duplicated in a recent scam. So, Liam being an admin of the very uh, official Telegram group. Um, yeah, so just there's no dumb questions, Feel free to ask if you're ever questioning anything. And again, no one's going to ask you for your personal information.
Right. And it's helpful if you take screenshots so that the real admins can kind of backtrack later and double check things.
Yeah, good call. And then aside from that, there's also speaking of migration, because I think there's a confusion here too with the base layer two of Ethereum. So, Marco actually has helped introduce this Kyber swap um, aggregator to help trading of the Veri token on Base network, which is a layer two of Ethereum. But this is not a migration. There is no need to move your tokens there if you don't want to trade. So they're perfectly safe where they are on Ethereum. But if you want to take advantage of trading with low fees and higher liquidity, Marco has introduced or shared with us the Kyber swap aggregator. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that before we move on? And then we can talk
Yeah,
about the
yeah.
base game.
Okay, yep. Just a couple of points on there. There are two liquidity pools on the base chain, and when you move tokens between Ethereum is where the very token was born, right? And so when you move a token to the base, it's called bridging. So that's one key distinction. It's not a migration. So that should tip people off that you don't migrate it to another chain, you bridge it. And what it does, Chainport was the firm that actually bridged it. They wrote a contract, and it wraps the very similar to the way WETH WETH is just wrapped Ethereum ETH. They just put a wrapper around it for the other chain. So yeah, what you're kind of alluding to and leading into is because of some issues long-standing the Veri DAO is working on, the token on the base chain doesn't have an icon, and that is a defect. We realize that it doesn't affect anything other than visually, but what that does allow is you can't tell just by looking at it because they're fake base because they're headed down a path where they support any and all tokens. Already the scams over there have multiplied tremendously. There are fake Veri tokens out there. And so the best way to tell is to go in. This is a bit of education now for our community, is you need to confirm the contract address. And the best way to do that is for new people, especially, is you go into the Veri DAO's knowledge base, and it has both contracts listed there. In
Nice.
fact, maybe it'd be a good point, Riz. I didn't have this one saved, but it's a good one. Let me share my screen again. I'll tap back over there,
I just pulled your
and
screen up.
yeah, and I'm gonna actually go into the very DAO site, and can you see this on
Yeah,
the
you're
share?
good. Yeah.
Up at the top right, there's a headset. That's our support site. It's hosted by Freshdesk, so it's veridao.freshdesk.com. But when you come in here, on the left, there's a solutions button, and you can click that, and that brings you into our knowledge base, our very smart metal knowledge base. And you can see a couple of categories here. Right now, we've got NFT activation and Veri token, some other order related things. So if we go into the Veri token, we can see there are 5 articles on it. And the very top one here, you can tell by the number of views. This is an important one, is the Veri token contract address. Now you can also, if you're on the front page here, you can just search on that. Just say token address, and then you'll see it pop up. And if you open that knowledge base article, you'll see we've got two token contracts here, one for Ethereum and one for Base, along with their blockchain browser that takes to the contract. And so you see the Ethereum contract, the original here, and the Base contract, A971. These are the only supported currently platforms for Veri. There is this other pulse chain thing that came up recently. I'm not going to get into this too much, but it's basically pulse chain from what I can tell. It duplicated the entire everything, environment, everything. And then their claim to fame is cheap transactions. And so they created this thing called P-Veri. It's just a duplicate. Whenever they did their snapshot, it just snapshotted. So everybody's got P-Veri over there that owns Veri, but we don't know anything about it. It's not sanctioned or supported by Reggie and Veritaseum. So if you do see Pulse Chain come up or P-Veri, just go ahead and open that article and you'll see that. So that's that one, Riz. So
Very helpful.
probably
Thank you. And I'm sure
there.
we're going to be looking to put that more front and center on the Very DAO page in the
Yeah.
future, just to make it more
Uh,
accessible.
right, right. That's a really good point too. I wanted to talk about is Leah and Tom and I, we have kind of an activity, some tasks queued up to create what I'm loosely calling now as Veri tools. So there'll be tools for Veri token holders, including that. Here's the two contract addresses. Here's the exchanges to go buy on. Here are all the risks and pitfalls, and just kind of a one-stop shop for Veri token holders, just an informational site. So we're working on that. That'll be coming out sometime
Perfect.
soon. So much going on, it's hard to get through it all, but
Sure.
it's there. Yeah.
Well, special shout out to Tom and Liam specifically for helping build the Very DAO website. And yeah, it's looking great. And while we're here, I should note that the Fresh Desk is basically a help or a support. So if you're having issues with anything very related, whether it's the very token or the very smart metal, if you're having issues activating your rounds, or if you're, looking for your shipping confirmation that you haven't gotten yet, you can actually click again the very DAO webpage at the top. There's a headset. It'll take you to the Fresh Desk, and you can ask your question or submit a ticket here.
Right, right. I'd say the path for people for ease and quickness would be number one, check the Telegram room, do a search in there. And if you can find your answer, a lot of times your question will probably be answered somewhere in there on a pinned post or in the main messaging flow. If that doesn't answer it, go look at Fresh Desk, like you said, through the veridao.io, the head set up in the top right corner. Look at the knowledge base in there. Do a search on whatever issue you have. If that still doesn't get your issue solved, then your course of action would be do what you said. In that same Fresh Desk environment, there's another different tab on the left. You can open a ticket, and there's a group of us that work those tickets every day. They get assigned to us immediately, and so someone will respond back to you to help you work through your issue.
Very cool. All right. So as far as the Fresh Desk and the essentially the ongoing scams that have happened lately, um, is there anything else you wanted to talk about related to the Very token?
One more. There's one more that actually got me in the past a few years ago. And this is a common, I call it a design error on some websites. There's a lot of people will know when you do a transaction on blockchain, there's usually two transactions, or a lot of times. The first one will be an approval. It's
Mhm.
how much am I approving to spend in this transaction? And then the next one is the actual transaction. And what a lot of sites will do is they'll give an unlimited spending approval. They say unlimited, you can spend unlimited Veri or whatever token it is. And then that authorization, if it stays active out there, in my case, was on a site, Zerion, I believe, and like a wallet app kind of thing. And somebody was able to hack into that site and discover that permission 8 months after I made it. I was looking at my phone one day and the tokens were just disappearing out of my wallet. And I didn't know what was going on. And I panicked, right? It's there, and there's nothing I could do at the moment. Just watch them disappear and backtracking through the investigation. That's what happened. And so the thing to do when you authorize that first transaction, you can click in there and change that to live. A lot of them will give you a choice,
Hmm.
unlimited or just the amount for the transaction. That's always the safest thing, is just the amount. If you wonder about past, like I said, I didn't get hacked for 8 months after I did the actual approval for the spending limit. There's a tool called revoke.cash, CASH. You go into that tool, it will help you revoke, and it'll identify open permissions and it will help you revoke those so that this
Hmm.
can't happen to you. So that's a I guess a design feature of the way blockchain and a lot of apps work. And you can tell the smart ones, the safety conscious, will only approve the amount. And it causes, if you're doing multiple transactions, it causes a little bit of excess of overhead, but it's safer that way. Or if you know you say you're buying 100 Veri or selling 100 or whatever, and you're breaking it up into three transactions to minimize the price impact. On the very first authorization, you can say, I'm going to sell 100. And so the next two, you wouldn't have to do that authorization again. So there's some workarounds, but the safest thing, revoke.cash, will go undo anything that you've inadvertently done.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And this is relative to all transactions on decentralized exchanges. So like Dodo, I've seen it on Dodo. Is this also on KyberSwap on base layer 2?
Yes. Any transaction out there is going to ask for an authorization first. Yeah.
Perfect.
Including when you're activating smart metals and everything. So it's just a good habit to be in, to watch that little window of how much they're approving for spending. Unlimited in this case, not probably not a good thing.
Right. Kind of a best practices right there.